used electric cars are safer to buy than second-hand petrol or diesel models. Wednesday 18th of February by Steve Fowler. I think Mr. Fowler is a big EV mouthpiece. Everything he writes virtually seems to be about EVs. We've all got a job to do, except me. I haven't got a job. I just do this because I don't like this crap that they keep publishing. It gives people, ordinary people who perhaps don't know anything about cars, it gives them the wrong idea. You know, how do you make a decision on what car to buy? You do research, don't you? What if you do research and you get crap articles like this and you believe them? That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to put things into perspective. When stuff like this comes out, the first thing you should ask yourself is, what's the motive? Ask yourself what my motive is. Somebody said the other day that I'm used to lying to customers to sell them cars. I've never lied to any customers. Honestly, if I did, I'd be a lot richer than I am now. All I did was tell people the truth, and if I thought the car wasn't suitable for them, I'd tell them that too. Money doesn't mean anything to me. Whether you believe that or not, it doesn't. It's nice to have, but would I sell my soul for it? No. These people seemingly have a different view on that too, as well as a different view on ICE and EVs. Let me just go through the article. I'll read it first and then I'll give you my take on it, if that's okay. I keep trying not to call people names because I suppose when you start calling people names, you lose the argument. Unfortunately, it's very, very difficult not to, because I'm sure this Steve Fowler, he's a lot cleverer than me. If he can't see through this story and he's relaying it to you and thousands and thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people that read The Independent, then I think it's a pretty poor do. Me, secondary school educated, but earned a degree at the School of Hard Knocks and the University of Life. Let me just tell you, you don't have to believe me, but just listen, then make your own mind up between the two of us. Pre-purchase used car inspections reveal far fewer faults on EVs than petrol and diesel models, with luxury SUVs amongst the riskiest buys. Steve Fowler, electric vehicle editor, on Wednesday the 18th of February 2026. Electric vehicles have been revealed as the safest used car buys, with far fewer faults found, that was like a tongue twister, far fewer faults found by a leading car inspection firm. Leading car inspection firm. Doing a lot of heavy lifting there. Analysis on 240,000 pre-purchase vehicle inspections. And the reason I say it's doing a lot of heavy lifting is that if they can come to this conclusion from their study, then they ain't leading anybody. They're leading you on, but they're not a leading firm. To be honest, I think it's disgraceful, this. I think the report's disgraceful, and I think the reporting of it is disgraceful. ClickMechanic shows that a poor rating was applied to just 1.51% of the 7,365 electric cars in the survey. Right, so you've got that, yeah? Remember that figure. Remember that figure. There were 7,365 electric cars in the survey, while 7.48% of all petrol and diesel models checked were rated as poor. There was 240,000 cars checked, but only 7,365 were electric. That hardly seems fair, does it? Luxury SUVs were apparently particularly problematic. 7 EVs were given 0% poor ratings, meaning no faults at all were found on the BMW i4, BMW iX, BMW iX3, Kia EV9, MG5, Polestar 2 and Volkswagen ID3 models. The worst EV on the survey was the Tesla Model 3, with a poor rating of 6.77%, still comfortably below the average poor rating of petrol and diesel cars. The Tesla Model 3 had the worst average poor rating of the EVs in the survey, but it was still better than the average for petrol and diesel models. Steve Fowler. At the other end of the scale was the BMW X5, getting a 26.4% poor rating. This was followed by the Citroën Relay van, 23.7%. Now they're comparing an EV to a van. Do you think the van would be getting the same treatment as an EV family car? You know, I said it, I'm trying not to call people. Well, the first words that come into my mind here, the first word starts with F and the second with I. Mercedes-Benz C-Class, 21.1%. BMW 3 Series, 21%. And Ford Focus, 20.6%. So immediately, those BMWs that scored great, what do you think the difference would be between them and the 3 Series? Are they made in a different factory, different country, different production line? Do you think they'd be made to a different standard? In my personal experience, everybody calls Range Rovers. We used to sell loads of Range Rovers, and we found we had less trouble with Range Rovers than we did with BMWs, and Mercedes-Benz, and Audi, and in some cases Volkswagen. That's real world experience. That's my real world experience. Do you think I'd have sold Range Rovers for all those years if there were trouble? Do I look like somebody who likes aggravation? Likes people ringing you up at night? Oh, just let me give you this example. In the old days, we had a customer called Mr. Huntbatch, and he was the local pools collector. Lovely guy. Used to buy a new Opel Manta off us every year. Lovely guy. And he had my home number. One night I'd gone home, I was actually in the bath, and the phone went. You know, cordless mobile phone. I answered it, Mr. Huntbatch. And he was broken down on an estate not too far from here, on the other side of Preston, which is very rough place, and it used to be even rougher then. I've broken down. I'm going to get mugged. I need a car. I've got to collect the pools. They've got to be in tonight, and I've got to go to Liverpool to take them there. So I said, okay, Mr. Huntbatch, I'll come, I'll bring you my car, and then we'll sort your car out tomorrow. I was wet through, my hair was still soaking wet. I jumped in the car, found Mr. Huntbatch. He'd got all his money, his takings, and he said, thanks for coming, Barry. Yeah, cheers. And I went to look at his car to try and start it. In the meantime, Mr. Huntbatch jumped in my car, set off, and went about his rounds, leaving me stranded on the roughest place in Preston in just a shirt with soaking wet hair. And I had to walk home and then go and collect his car the next day. Especially since then, I make sure I don't get any aggravation. Andrew Jarvis, CEO of ClickMechanic, I think you need to take a good, long, hard look at yourself, Andrew, said, our inspection data highlights how much variation there can be between different models on the used market. Some newer electric models are performing strongly in our checks, some newer electric models, while certain older, more complex vehicles are showing significantly higher rates of serious faults. So have I got this wrong, or is he admitting that he's checking newer EVs against older ICE cars? That's what it seems to say to me. ClickMechanic research has also revealed that 15% of Brits have sold a car with a fault. 15% of Brits have admitted to selling a car with faults. The other 85% haven't admitted it but have done it anyway. There's some dirty tricks out there, I'll tell you. For one in particular, I remember, not particularly a fault, but we took an XR3i in part exchange off a person, and when I valued it, it had a fantastic radio cassette system in it. And I knew the guy. I never bothered checking his car when he brought it in. I knew him. When I went to move it on the forecourt, there's an old Crackle Master where this, I think it was a Clarion radio cassette, fantastic thing it was. And this Clarion had been taken out, and an old something like Radiomobile Crackle Master had just been shoved in. So I looked at it, it wasn't even fastened in, because they were kind of a DIN-E size, I think. And this was an old radio that you had to put in a frame, screw things on both the buttons to hold it in place. So I got hold of it and pulled it out, and as I pulled it out, it wasn't working, but as I pulled it out, there was an almighty flash behind the dash, and I could see a wire glowing red hot. Now, you'd have thought the fuse would have blown, but it didn't, and the wire went red hot, and I saw it just melt straight through the ventilation pipes at the back. He hadn't even taped the wiring up. He'd cut the wires. He'd cut the whole plug off and left the live wire in the back, which meant if it just touched earth and the wire just glowed red hot, was somebody who'd put it in for him had just wired it straight to the live terminal of the battery. So there was no fuse to blow. And it was still scything through. I had to put my hand in and pull the wire off, and I ended up with a burn right across all my fingers there. Quite a bad burn too. And that was from somebody we knew. So imagine what else they do. I've had a school teacher, Bimson, I still remember the name, swapped all the tyres off her car. They were brand new tyres. She swapped them all off and put virtually bald ones on, and she'd sold the tyres to a friend. And when I rang her and said, look, on my appraisal your car had brand new tyres on and now they're bald. I only appraised it last week. She says, I sold them to my friend. I said, well, you can't do that. And she says, well, you're a dealer, you should expect it. And I said, you're a school teacher, you should be better. We had another customer, same family, same thing. Him and his dad had the same cars. He swapped his wheels, his good wheels, off his car onto his dad's and put his dad's old shitty wheels onto the car he was part exchanging. And honestly, I could go on and on. So, slightly off subject, but yeah, with 4% not telling buyers about a potential problem. With 4% not telling buyers about a potential problem. So that would also tend to mean that they're saying that these are private sellers. Buyer beware. Our research shows that millions of faulty cars are still changing hands each year, and not all issues are being disclosed, said Jervis. Really? That's exactly why pre-purchase inspections are becoming more common. Okay, well, also answer me this. The faults that are on the vehicle, on average, do they cost more to rectify than the check cost? So they pay you, are they gaining? Because if they bought the car from a good dealer, they're going to have at least 3 months warranty. And also, if it's a pre-existing fault and they can prove it, they've basically got unlimited, as far as I can make out these days. So these things are kind of if you buy one off a private person to try and save money. So you try and save money and then you pay for an inspection. Now, I can tell you this. If the person knows there's something wrong with the vehicle, he won't allow an inspection. So you're best ringing up and saying, I really like your car. I'm just trying to arrange an inspection for it. If he says yes, that's fine. You don't need to arrange an inspection. If he says, oh no, I don't like the sound of that, don't buy the car, because he knows there's something wrong with it and the inspection would find it. So save yourself the inspection money. Just use your head. And also, as I say, when I go through this, if you think that these people are thinking logically and are speaking correctly, then go ahead, pay them for a check. You deserve it. We're seeing younger buyers in particular taking extra steps to protect themselves. In many cases, an inspection not only identifies serious faults, but gives buyers leverage to negotiate hundreds of pounds off the asking price. You mean enough to repair it? Or they could just go and buy a proper car and have none of that hassle. According to ClickMechanic, 27% of used car buyers pay for a professional pre-purchase inspection, rising to 44% for younger buyers and half of all Londoners, the highest for any region. Well, I can tell you that is absolute garbage. I've been in the job, oh, buyers, don't tell me you've been in the job 50 years. I've been in the job 50 years, and I reckon that the actual figure of people getting an inspection is less than 1% of my customers, but perhaps that's because I'm honest and because I wouldn't rip them off and because I've got a good reputation. Perhaps that's why it is. So let's have another look at it. Perhaps people who are buying cars off people that they don't really trust, they get an inspection. Save yourself some money. Buy a car off somebody that's trustworthy, that's got good reviews, that when something does go wrong, and trust me, that inspection, I can virtually guarantee cars these days will go wrong. It's a fact of life. They're too complicated. There's too much stuff on them. There's too much stuff that's on them that doesn't get used, like electric windows in the back, like central door locking motors, stuff that shouldn't be on cars in the first place. They go wrong, not mechanical, that sort of stuff. So I'd like to see what actually has gone wrong on these vehicles. Is it mechanical? Is it electrical? Is it accessories that they've found wrong? The latest figures from the automotive industry trade body SMMT show that used electric car sales jumped 45% in 2025, pushing total second-hand car sales up for a third consecutive year to a total of 7,807,872 used car transactions last year. If you check the registrations and the actual owner change on EVs, you will notice it is way, way higher than normal because people buy them, they don't like them, they get rid of them, and some other victim comes and buys it, and then he does the same. It's not unusual to see a lot. Okay, you know, there's some ice cars out there that change hands quickly. Usually it's the older ones that have got problems. And there's a car around here. It's a CLK. I don't know whether it's still doing the rounds. It's a CLK. And a friend of mine knows it off by heart because he's the best diagnostic expert in Preston. Guy buys the car from the block. There's a problem, and the radiator, I think it's the coolant radiator and the gearbox radiator are in one unit. And this particular car had a leak between the radiator for coolant for the car, for the engine, and the radiator for the gearbox. So coolant got into the oil for the gearbox and ruined the gearbox. Nothing you could do, it needed a new gearbox. So what does the guy do? He puts it back in the auction. The next one buys it out of the auction, rings my mate and says, oh, I've got a fault with this. It's not selecting gear properly. Can you come and have a look at it? And he turns up, sees the car, and he says, it's the radiator. Coolant's leaked from the radiator for the engine block into the oil for the gearbox. The guy goes, wow, you're brilliant. Puts it back in the block. A couple of months later, he gets to go and get paid again for diagnosing the same fault on the same car. And I'm sure he said he'd seen the same car about 7 times. He was probably exaggerating at 7 times, but I do know it was definitely 3. That's when cars have got a fault. But the EVs that are changing hands, they're like 1 day old, 14 days old. And that's when they're new. So they get a new sale and they get a used sale. And then the person who's bought it used doesn't like it. So you've got 3 owners in a matter of months. You go on motorway and look at the change of owners, and I think I found one that had 7 owners in 2 years, and like some of them were just days. So that's the real story of EVs. Don't let them kid you about 93% or 9 out of 10 owners are happy with their EVs. No, 9 out of 10 owners who are running EVs still are happy with them. They suit their needs. The people you need to ask are the people that bought one, didn't like it, got rid of it quick. Those are the people, but they don't show up in the survey because they don't want to know about those. It's so that they can make up crap like this in other surveys and give you a false impression about how happy people are with EVs. Trust me, they're not. I'm happy with mine, it's great. I'm not happy at the moment because the 12-volt battery's gone. After, it's just coming up to 3 years old, 12-volt battery's gone and I can't start it. So, in order to move it the other day, I had to lie on my back in the pissing rain and put a jump pack on it to get it started. I'm now waiting for a new battery for it. But I still love it anyway. It still suits me down to the ground. Great car. Excellent for me. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.